Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess. Today we are at the second lesson of the crash course of king and pawn endgames. Today we are going to discuss the next topic, that is activity of the king, in which we will see that how the advanced king can be a useful factor or a determining factor. Let's get started with one very important theoretical position here. The other three will be game positions. In this position, currently the king is way behind and white will have to really activate his king in order to win the game. Let's say white starts with the move kc2, then ke6, kc3, kd5, kd3. Even though white manages to get the opposition, he cannot win because after kc6, kc4, this opposition is managed, but king has the place on the square b6. It must be remembered that this opposition will only win if the king and pawn are on the 6th rank. Otherwise, behind that, the position will be drawn only. So this is a drawn position up to kb6. Same way, nothing is achieved by getting the king to d2 also. The only way for white is to get his king ahead of the pawn, and that can be achieved here with only kc2, ke6, kb3, kd5, ka4. The king reaches a5 by force, and in that position black needs the king on a7 only. That is not possible. See, after kc6, ka5, black cannot reach a7. So now see, kb7 is a better attempt. After kc7, kb5 is blunder. kb7 would get us to the first position of the first lesson. So here king a6 first, and after kb8, kb6, k8, kc7, white can win. After kb7, kb5, now black should perhaps try here kb8, when after kb6, k8, b5, he can get the opposition. But this opposition is of no use because we have discussed, whenever the king reaches the 6th rank and pawn is behind it, it's always winning. But whenever it's a knight pawn, there is an additional factor which one has to take into account. Now the first problem is, if king goes to c6, then black goes ka7, and after kc7, k8, because b6 would be just a stalemate. So the point to be remembered is, whenever it's a knight file pawn, we should always take the king to rook's file, so that the king has to be pushed on the other side. So see, now after king a8, we get b6, and here there is no stalemate. After kb8, b7, kc7 forced, king a7, and white wins. Similarly, after kc7, ka7 also, all the three squares are controlled by the white king, so the pawn will simply promote to queen. So here we saw how the advanced king is an important asset. Let's go to the next position. So this is the second position here. Black has to play very accurately here to convert this into a win, because presence of, see, rook pawn versus rook and knight pawn. So the passed pawn will be g pawn, and when we get the move g3, we have to be very sure that the opposition is with black. Black plays kg4. Now kg2 should be the main move. If white goes kg1 instead, then king reaches the h3 square very quickly. King h1 force, and now all black has to do is make sure that how to move the g pawn, whether g5, g4, g3 or g6, g5, g4, g3, because what we want is, with pawn on h4, depending on white king placing, we will decide when to get g3. With the king on h1, we want the move g3. So first black plays h5, king g1, h4, king h1, and now see, we want this position only with the pawn on g3. So see, after g5, kg1, g4, kh1, g3. So this is what we want. If this would have not worked, we would have gone g6 first. So g5, kg1, g4, kh1, g3. This point is very important. Otherwise, with king on g1, if you would have got this position, then hg, hg, kh1 would have given us a drawn game. Now king g1, but now comes g2. King is forced to go to f2, when after kh2, black simply wins. So white should play the move kg2, not allowing kh3 instantly. Here black goes kh4, and now white either has to go kf2, kh3, kg1, reaching the position like the previous one, or he can try the move h3. After h3, kg5, kg3, king f5, king f3, and now g6. Very important waiting move. Now forcing king g3. Do note that h4 would have been met by h5 when the king enters from the e4 square. Black gets the opposition. And here too g5, kf3, h5. It's game over. The black king simply penetrates now. After kg3, ke4, h4 is met by g4. And after ke3, black can do ke5. The king cannot go much further because after kd3, black simply goes kf4 and takes the pawn on h3. h3 would have been a best alternative for white, I feel. White went king f2, to which kh3, kg1, first h5, kh1, h4, kg1. The only difference between this position and the previous one was that in the same case white had king on h1. Now see, if we go g5, kh1, g4, kg1, g3, it would be hg, hg, kh1 and a drawn game. So black will play g6, kh1, g5, kg1, g4, kh1 and then only g3. And once again we reach that same position, h takes g3, h takes g3, kg1, h3, kf2, kh2 and black wins. Let's look at the third position now. We have the third position here, it's white to play. At first look it's like what is there in the position, white king will simply take the a pawn and white will win the game. But see, after ke7, kc3, kd7, kd4, kc7, kd5, kb7, kd6, it turns out that after the move king a7, black has kc7, when the white king is trapped in the corner and it's a drawn game. See, king a8, kb6, a7 and kc7, and it is white who gets stalemated. So things are not as simple as they look. There is a specific technique here. The king has a unique quality here. The king takes same number of moves to go to this, for example, a7 square, straight also, or zigzag also, or let's say diagonally also. So the king takes here, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to take the pawn straight. It can go same way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and take the pawn diagonally as well. So here what white does is, he stops the enemy king from reaching the c6 square or the d6 square when the king is on b7. So white starts with ke6 first. Now see, kc3, kd5, and firstly see, kb4 will never help because kc6, kc4, kb7, kc5, king a7, kc6. The black king simply falls one move short. After kb8, kb6, a7, the pawn wins. So after kd5, the only attempt is the move kd3. But when after kc6 we realize that the king needed to be on e5, e6, e7 or the e8 squares, the king simply cannot reach there. See, ke5, kb7, kd5, king takes a7, and once again the king only reaches the c6 square. So this technique is called shouldering or shoulder charging. When the king had come to d5 this way, we didn't allow the black king to get the d4 square. See, had white played kd6, then after kd4, kc6, ke5, we would have got a drawn game. So hence this is another merit of having an advanced king. Let's look at the last position now, which also happens to be a game position. It's white to play, and white here has two ways actually to win the game. I prefer the move kg4. First move kg4 is absolutely necessary when black will go k f6, and here I prefer the move king h5, advancing the king and putting it on h5. The other move h4 also makes lot of sense. We will have look at both. After the move king f5, it's absolutely necessary to play g3 and stop black king's entry on f4. If ke4, then kg6, g7 is lost. So king f6 forced, and now g4. The position is absolutely losing. After g5, there is just a waiting move k6 and the g5 pawn is lost. 2 pawns down is a losing position. After g6 also similarly, kh6, g5, and here white has kh5 or h3, both getting him to a winning position. So this was a simpler method if white uses the move g3. Otherwise the move h4 also makes a lot of sense. If g6, then white has the move king f4, or g3, then kg5. So kg6, h5 check, king h6, and here white uses the move kh4. The point is that here g6 fails because after h takes g, k takes g, king g4, and white gets the opposition and wins the game. It means indirectly we have forced the black king to go behind on h7, and the white king again advances to the g5 square. kg8, kg6, king h8, and simply h6. First point, g takes h6, then kh6. We can see that it's the king on 6th rank, pawn is way behind. So in any file other than rook file's case, this position is winning. And the only other try which black did with kg8, here hg7 stalemate is a small trap, but white can play the move g3 or g4. Both work over here, since after g takes h, king takes h6, kh8, kg6, kg8, white simply wastes the move with g5, snatching back the opposition. This time there are no stalemate tricks as well. After king h8, kf7, kh7, g6, the pawn simply promotes. So with these 4 examples, I have tried to prove that how the advanced king position is an important asset. I hope you will find something new in these lessons. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.